Um, Julius Rosenberg. Um, the purpose of this the purpose of this case study is to evaluate Julius' participation in the Rosenberg ring, to analyze his motives and evaluate his trial. Early life. He was born on May 12th, 1918. He became a leader in the Young Communist League, where he met Ethel in 1936, before marrying her 3 years later. This shows he had communist ideas early in life. In 1942, Julius and Ethel became full members in the American Communist Party. Motives: he was for the Soviets, and family sticks together. He used his home as a base of operations and recruited family members to help. His activities: was the ringleader of the spy ring. He became a recruiter and organizer of spies. Worked closely with Anatoly Yankov, who was a attaché from the Russian consulate in New York. Charges: he was charged with conspiracy to commit espionage and recruiting and operating spies. He was arrested at his home in Knickerbocker Village, New York City. He was pressured by prosecution with the use of his wife. He was charged with conspiracy to commit espionage and sentenced to death. Psychological issues. He was given all the power and told to control himself. He was told to control other spies who were under him. His ideas caused a falling out between him and David Greengrass. His testimony was the key to killing both Julius and Ethel. Interview questions. How much did you care for the safety of other members of the group? How did the Soviets get to you? Why did you drag family and friends into this? Why didn't you speak out and speak your innocence? Source evaluation. There's a lot of information on Julius and his spy ring. All information was the same. He became a leader in the runner spies. He knew what he was doing. Sources.
Next, we'll look at Ethel Rosenberg. I will be looking at Ethel's participation in the Rosenberg ring, as well as her motivations for working for them, and evaluate her portion of it. Her early life. Ethel had aspirations of becoming an actress and actually had several important performances as a singer and actress, including one at Carnegie Hall. Her mother never attended any of her performances, which may suggest poor relationship between her mother and her. Her brother David described her as fanatical and possibly neurotic, which shows some elements of her personality. And other members of her family described her as very aloof and into her own plan. Motivations. She seemed very motivated by the communist cause, and her parents also had socialist beliefs, and she may have adopted them into her own beliefs. A stronger motivation may have actually been the fact that Julius operated out of her home, so she got to see the espionage. So she would have had to stand up against it going on in her own home, and it would have been hard for her to go against her husband, and especially if he asked her to engage in espionage activities. Her activities are under a little bit of question. There's a little bit of question over what she actually did for the Soviets and what was just speculation or what she was just plainly accused of. Some felt that she was actually innocent and that anything that became of the trial was just sexism on the part of the prosecutors. Others actually felt that she was the ringleader of the operation, that she was very manipulative. Some KGB files came up after the trial and outlined a little bit better what Ethel did with regards to the ring. The Venona decryptions have been used to exonerate her. And one line in it states that the wife of Julius does not work, which can mean she does not work for the Soviets or simply that she was unemployed. The Vasiliev notebooks show that she was involved, that she was aware of Julius's activities and actually supported them. And she may have helped with recruitments and logistics, and actually helped with the recruitment of her brother, David Greenglass, and his wife. It also states that the KGB had planned to use her more, but the unraveling of the spy ring kind of canceled those plans. Further charges that may not have actually been true were that she participated in the collection and burning of incriminating documents during certain scares that the ring was going to be uncovered. Julius admitted to an FBI plant that she had actually helped to transfer large sums of monies between members of the ring. And part of the prosecution, one of the large parts of the prosecution actually, was the testimony of her brother David, that she had actually typed atomic bomb documents that he had collected. David Greenglass was recruited by Ethel and Julius into the spy ring, as he was assigned by the Army to work at Los Alamos, New Mexico, where he was able to seal atomic bomb secrets, such as the diagram depicted of one of the atomic bombs. He was taken in by the FBI when he was discovered in around 1951. He volunteered information about Julius and what the spy ring had been doing, and later on, during the trial, he actually incriminated his sister Ethel, stating that she had, as stated before, that she had typed up some of the atomic bomb documents. And his testimony was the largest part of the prosecution and helped to unravel the spy ring. So that was what most of it was rested on. Ethel's arrest. She was used, as Bradley had said, to put pressure on Julius to confess and to hopefully implicate other Soviet spies involved. The only evidence against her at the time was the testimony that David had presented, that she had taken actions to type up some of the atomic bomb documents. She was charged with conspiracy to commit espionage and sentenced to death, and both her and Julius were executed 2 years later in 1951. Both of them, despite being sentenced, chose not to plead guilty and remained silent about any other activities going on. There's a question over whether she had some psychological issues or if it was just outwardly projected by others onto her through sexism. During the trial, she was transformed into an unnatural woman by the prosecution. They saw her as really an unfit wife and mother, and that she wasn't really very feminine. Roy Cohen, the assistant prosecutor, depicted her as actually more guilty than Julius, and some of them even suggested that she was taller and dominated her younger husband, Julius. President Eisenhower even agreed and had disdain for her, that there was something unnatural about her and that there must be something wrong with her. But this may just be a product of the times, that women were thought to be more feminine than she was, and that there must have been something wrong with her if she was to act. There was a great deal of conformity on her part, which she strongly identified with Julius's beliefs, but that's not necessarily a diagnosis in and of itself. It may be more due to Julius's strong personality, that she may have been drawn into those actions. Some interview questions for Ethel would be, how much did you actually do for your husband's spy ring? Because this is in question, it would be interesting to find out how much of the KGB documents are true and how much of what the prosecution charged her of is actually true. Also, which was more important to you, Julius or the Soviet cause? Because she seemed very devout to the Soviet cause, but it may have been vicariously through Julius that she may have identified more with him than with communism itself. And there's also a question of how much Julius pressured her. He may have pressured her to work for him in the first place, and he may have pressured her to remain silent during the trial. The sources for the Rosenberg ring itself are extensive, but there's not a lot on Ethel. There's a lot of the information on her is conflicting. Some of it saying that she did nothing to help them, and others saying that she did quite a bit in recruitment and actually transporting documents and money for the ring. And really, her conviction only rested on David's testimony, so not a lot was done more beyond that. So it would be interesting to see what she actually did versus what she was accused of.